Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Proven Inspiration. I do hope you're having a good day. I'd like to provide you with training today, and our topic for today is dealing with the past. And this video is for happily married couples or couples on their way to being happy. Now, as you are aware, everyone has a past. You have a past, I have a past. Some people have pasts that are more sordid, more painful, and others have like a pretty light past. But everyone has a story. Everyone has something that has impacted them in one way, shape, or the other. However, when you're dating and you're in a relationship, sometimes the love and the feelings that you have for each other can actually overshadow the issues of your past. And so those issues don't actually come up whilst you're dating. However, when you get married, then you start to see these issues crop up. What sort of issues am I talking about when I'm talking about dealing with the past? I'm talking about issues that have to do with perhaps rejection. You may have been rejected by your parents as a child or by your partners, like the people you dated. You may have issues that deal with rejection. And so this is an issue for you. It's a real big issue. And it comes up in your behavior and in your attitude in different ways. You may have been married to your partner for a period of time, and perhaps your partner had a moment of weakness and cheated on you, and so you're dealing with the issue of adultery, but it occurred in the past. That's a past issue. However, it's important that when you are in marriage that you take the time to deal with the past. If not, your past can very much sap the joy from your present and negatively impact your future. So it's important that you deal with the past. So when I say deal with the past, what do I mean? I mean that you need to examine the past. You need to examine the situation that occurred. And once you've examined it, you may need to devise a plan to help you manage that situation. So for instance, if you have an issue that relates to rejection in your life, you may feel rejected if your spouse, you send your spouse a text message and they don't actually respond to you promptly, or they don't respond to you at all. You may find that you feel those feelings of being rejected crop up. If you are aware of how the rejection makes you feel, then you can actually communicate that to your spouse. But more importantly, you can train yourself to ignore those feelings when they come up. So you can literally talk yourself out of feeling the way that you would normally feel, or at least talk yourself out of acting on that feeling. Some people who feel rejected actually go ahead to reject you before you reject them. So perhaps you text your spouse, he doesn't respond, you feel like he's upset with you, and so when he comes back home you start to act funny with him. So in essence, what you're doing right there is that you're rejecting him first before he can reject you. But perhaps there was actually no issue of rejection. Perhaps we were just having a busy day, a difficult day, and when he comes back home he meets a spouse that, like, he meets his wife and his wife is acting up and he doesn't understand why. Okay, so it's important that you know yourself, you examine yourself, and if you find that you have an issue with rejection, train yourself, communicate with your spouse, number one, and then train yourself to ignore those feelings. And over time, when you find that when you don't have to act out on those feelings, if you find out you don't have to act out when your husband comes home, or you start asking him questions like, you upset with me, did I do something wrong? All those things are actually feeding into the rejection. They're actually feeding into your past. But if you understand who your spouse is and understand that they would never reject you because they're a different person than the people that you had in your life before. And so when you start to see them through the correct lens, then when you feel that feeling of rejection crop up within you, that you can actually talk to yourself and say, hey, no, Bae's probably busy. He's probably having a hard day. You talk yourself through it and you ignore those feelings. You don't act on it. Eventually, with practice, with time, you should start to see a decline in the need to act out. in a way that affirms rejection as opposed to just reducing it and making it decline in your life. So that's number one. Number two, if you have a spouse, if it's your wife, it's your husband, and you had an issue in the past that had to do with weakness and adultery, you have to make up in your mind what you're going to do about it. You have to examine the way it makes you feel. So perhaps if it was your husband that cheated, for instance, and you find that when you see him interacting with females a lot at parties, it brings up memories of what happened in the past. You have to be very honest with him and say, look, honey, like, I'm not saying that you're trying to step out on me, but when I see you interacting a lot with females at parties, it brings up these feelings within me. Now, because this is something that actually happened in your marriage, he has to take responsibility. And perhaps there's a way that you can actually devise a plan whereby maybe when you're at parties, he can interact with females, but he must also check in with you. So check in, by check in I mean he comes to you sporadically and says like, honey, are you okay? Maybe gives you a hug or holds your hand, just has some kind of connection with you so that you know that he's still on board, he's still your man, he's still your husband, he's still in love with you. So that's his way of reassuring you, and in that way you are both building or rebuilding and leaving what happened in the past. What you do not want to do in your marriage is carry issues that occurred in your past into the present. You don't want to keep accusing your husband or reminding your husband of the fact that he stepped out on you. Or if you're a husband, you don't want to keep reminding your wife and accusing her of the fact that she stepped out on you. She had a moment of weakness. When you do that, you actually sap the joy out of your current relationship. Okay? So it's important that you look at the past, examine the past, deal with it, set out a plan for how you're going to deal with it, and then forget the issues of the past. There's an ancient text in the Bible that says, forgetting the things that are behind. And so the things that you really do need to forget are the past hurts, the past pains, past transgressions. There's no benefits to your present circumstance in you going over and over something that happened before. Of what benefit is that to you? Once you've learned the lessons, once you've devised a plan, forget about it. By forgetting about it, you're ignoring it, you're acting like it never happened, you're becoming oblivious to what happened in the past, and you're concentrating on building a beautiful future. You're concentrating on building excellence in your present so that you can actually both jointly create a beautiful future. Okay? So deal with the past and move forward. These are my few thoughts for you today. Please feel free to share this video with whoever you think needs to hear it. Until next time, from my heart to yours, do take it easy. Bye.